For instance, on December 1st of last year, we were driving the winding mountain road from the town of Clayton to Byron through the hills. After dark, in a two-lane road, there was 2 cars behind us. Suddenly, a yellow, late-model Dodge Charger passed us up on the left side. Oncoming traffic had 2 more cars. He got so close, if I had not slowed down immediately to let him pass in front of me, a head-on collision would have directly killed innocent people in 2 cars, head-on, with 2 cars behind me, including himself. My reaction was always to protect lives. Then I kept thinking, if there was any little children in those cars, no one could have made it. A chain reaction would have killed or injured 7 people. I couldn't live with that. At his speed exceeding 70 miles per hour and its innocent families hitting a solid wall at 130 miles per hour, he would have killed and hurt minimum of 6 people, including him. There was no way that man could have seen around that mountain in that car. To pass 3 cars at once in a blind turn after dark at a high rate of speed, just to run me and my wife off the road, it was no coincidence. Nobody could be that reckless and stupid. As usual, they would just drive around the front of my truck before I'd make a left turn in the middle of the street to scare me. Sadly, Pombo still thinks I have a weak heart, can go any time. 20 years ago, I gave that impression to one of his associates. Pombo still believes it. I am always expecting something to happen before I make a left turn in the middle of the street. That was not Pombo's first attempt. Pombo has been much more aggressive in recent months and not caring for innocent bystanders. He always tries to make it look like an accident. These past several years, I had to constantly be alert, looking over my shoulder as though I have done something wrong. Richard Pombo at times would have people follow me everywhere I go. Often I think it's just to let me know he is in control and watching. Some years back, I wanted to make sure I was not imagining it. I had a friend who waited for me at key locations during a route we planned and videotaping the intersections as I appear while performing several stops in 4 hours. We seen 3 cars and their drivers were constantly on their phone, going through the same intersection, following me. When I stop at parking lots, they stop. When I leave, they stay behind me. I got a call from my friend. Jokingly, he says, I should start a carpool because I have a total of 3 cars following me. Now they use my phone's GPS to track me. I sometimes leave my iPhone at home and use the burner phone. After a while, each time I would purposely set up a routine for about 2 weeks straight to appear at the same place and the same time. I would be approached by people who will try to provoke and create a potentially violent situation, hoping for me to react in an emotional or violent response. Pombo will try to create a record of violent episodes on a police report backed up with his own witnesses, only to use it in court to discredit me when I'm on the stand, or maybe to have me detained behind bars so I have me killed by other inmates. That would not surprise me. I recorded this event on hidden video camera. One day I encountered a situation where this lady that we conveniently parked next to her car at the Food for Less parking lot. It just so happens that a car just left a parking spot next to this lady, and I stopped to move into that spot close to the front door. Who would not take advantage of being closer to the building? However, I didn't know it was a setup. I moved right into that spot. As I opened my door, this lady started complaining that I had touched her mirror with my door. My response that I did not touch her mirror. She started to argue and to raise her voice. At one point, I asked her if she would if she wants me to be her worst nightmare. I can. She threatened to call the police. I took a picture of her license plate. I also noticed that a man was coming out Food for Less market carrying no groceries and walking towards her car. So to testify in court. A few hours later, I received a call without the caller ID posted on my phone. A man identified himself as a Manteca police officer. The officer asked me if I had encountered a lady in Food for Less parking lot. I replied yes, and did I say something to the effect of being her worst nightmare? I said yes. She reported me and made a statement that I were yelling, pounding on her car with violent intentions, scaring her, and the kids in the back seat were crying. I said that's not true. At that time, he wanted some information, driver's license number, birth date, and a few more information that I was not willing to give up over the phone because the caller ID was not on my phone, and explained this to him. It could be a scam to acquire my private information. Just for that reason, he started to tell me that he doesn't want to believe my side of the story. Just short of offering to go to the police station, I asked him, "Do you want to see the video?" He was shocked. "You mean to tell me you have video on your truck?" I responded that I have a reputation of having video cameras everywhere I go. What's in your mirror?
You just hit the mirror. I saw the mirror moving with your door.
Oh,
come on, let's go in the store, okay?
Wait.
You see that?
You know what?
The opening?
You want me to be your worst nightmare? I can be your worst nightmare, lady.
You
Let's
can
just
tell
go.
me all you want. Do you want me to call the
I'm not threatening.
Yes, you
Let's
are.
just go in the
As you can see in this video, there was not one child in that car. She intentionally filed a false statement to the Manteca Police Department. It's a felony to file false charges. The next time, they tried to humiliate me and intimidate me. It happened when I took my mother-in-law to have a checkup from an injury for which she broke her hip. I drove my mother-in-law's car to that appointment, and still we were followed. While in the waiting room, this man yelling across the room to me spread his arms and said, "I love you." I responded cynically, "Well, ain't that sweet?" Sat down next to me on my left, my wife on my right. At first I thought he was on drugs or mentally unstable. I have been in a situation where I have volunteered to help around unstable people. FYI, never to initiate violence. Being at the hospital, it could be possible. Until 5 seconds later, he brought his own witnesses. 3 ladies sits down across from me and 2 men behind him. So if I could only strike him one time to show intent of violence, and to be arrested and put in jail for that weekend, and miss the court date on Monday to fight trumped-up charges from the upcoming video lose by default. Richard Pablo had teamed up with Mark Peterson, district attorney for Contra Costa County. Together they covered up 3 counts of extortion for the amount of $100,000 from me and my company. District Attorney Mark Peterson was later charged and convicted of perjury, lied 13 times to the county grand jury. He was put on probation for 1 year. That tells you what kind of district attorney he is. I will explain in more detail later in this video. In episode 3, you are not going to want to miss how he eliminates the course of justice and the threat of prosecution, at the same time protects his crime syndicate, possibly drug dealers and meth cooking that lives in the county, mostly just outside the city limits. People who may live right next door, your neighbors for years, worse than bathtub gin during Prohibition. This stuff is toxic to make and consume. Selling poison to your kids and family members, Northern California is becoming a haven for cooking meth.